This is SkyTour News for April 8th. I'm Amanda Curran. Today in 1964, Gemini 1 is launched. Gemini 1 was the first unmanned test flight of the Gemini spacecraft in NASA's Gemini program. Its main objectives were to test the structural integrity of the new spacecraft and modified Titan II launch vehicle. It was also the first test of the new tracking and communication systems for the Gemini program and provided training for the ground support crews for the first manned missions. Gemini spacecraft number 1 was built specifically for unmanned missions. Crew life support systems were replaced with ballast to approximate the weight of a crewed spacecraft. 4 large holes were drilled into the capsule's ablative heat shield to ensure the spacecraft was destroyed during re-entry. In place of the crew seats were measuring equipment that relayed telemetry measuring the pressure, vibration, acceleration, temperature, and structural loads during the short flight. 4 hours and 50 minutes after the launch, and after 3 orbits, the mission was completed. However, the slightly higher than planned orbit caused it to stay up for almost 4 days. It was tracked by the Manned Spaceflight Network until it re-entered over the South Atlantic, midway between South America and Africa. Today in 1966, the OAO-1 is launched. The Orbiting Astronomical Observation Satellites were a series of 4 American space observatories launched by NASA between 1966 and 1972, which provided the first high-quality observations of many objects in ultraviolet light. Although 2 AOA missions were failures, the success of the other 2 increased awareness within the astronomical communities of the benefits of space-based observations and led to the instigation of the Hubble Space Telescope. The first OAO was launched successfully on this date in 1966, carrying instruments to detect ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma-ray emissions. However, before the instruments could be activated, a power failure resulted in the termination of the mission after 3 days. The spacecraft was tumbling out of control, such that the solar panels could not be deployed to recharge the batteries that would supply power to the electrical and electronic equipment on board. Success came with the launch of the OAO-2 nearly 2.5 years later. Today in 1980, the discovery of Saturn's moon Telesto. A tiny moon of Saturn, Telesto was discovered today in 1980 using ground-based observations by several scientists and was named after the Greek mythological daughter of Titans Oceanus and Tethys. Telesto is also known as Tethys' Trojan because together with Calypso, it circles Saturn in about the same orbit as the moon Tethys. At a distance of about 183,000 miles from Saturn, the moon takes 45.3 hours to make one trip around the planet. Telesto orbits about 60 degrees ahead of Tethys, while Calypso orbits behind Tethys about 60 degrees. Because Telesto is in front of this 3-moon group, it is also called the leading Trojan. The Cassini probe performed a distant flyby of Telesto on October 11, 2005, and the resulting images showed that the surface is surprisingly smooth, devoid of small impact craters. This is SkyTour News. I'm Amanda Curran.